Monday, November 10th, 2025. I'm Sweets. This is Sid. And this is our Monday check-in where we talk about what we're going to be delivering for this week. To get started, Sid, I would love if you tested some of the things that I delivered this weekend. Is it okay if you share your screen and we run through the breaking news of what's new with Recoup?
Let's do it.
All right. First, tell me what you think about how long it takes conversations to load on the left.
Fucking incredible. Let's go. I can see them. What was the issue?
Hard refresh with Command Shift R.
Yeah. What was the issue?
I rebuilt it. That was one of the first things that we built, and it had things built in like agents from back when we were doing the Wrapped agent literally a year ago when Spotify Wrapped came out last year. So I just rebuilt it. Can you go to docs.recoupable.com in a different tab or in this one? Yeah. And then go to Get Started. We now have Stream, which you asked for up top. And then we also have Get. So what you just said is, how did I rebuild it? I moved getting chats to our backend API. And so it's now an efficient query. We were pulling, when you queried the chat, we were also pulling every single message associated with the chat to filter out chats that didn't have any messages, which didn't make any sense to me because if a chat exists, it has a message. So the reason it was so slow is every time we try to load the recent chats, you're also pulling every single message in every single conversation. And so now I've made it so that when you get chats, it's just getting, if you scroll down to the response, it's just getting the account it belongs to, the artist it belongs to, the name of the chat, the ID of the chat, and when it was updated, and we sort by when it was updated.
Nice.
So what else? Let's go back to Recoup, chat.recoupable.com. The bulk of my time was spent on tasks. So if you disable it, can you go to your tasks tab? So you'll see that you now have the PFP over there.
Yeah.
I fixed some things around the text that's displayed there, like at 9 a.m. only on Thursday. At 9 a.m. means it's every day at 9 a.m. We were doing some logic and I've simplified it. Can you click on any of them? I've now got this cron editing for quick presets for people to be able to set when they want these. Before we had drop downs, which weren't very expressive for everything you could actually do. And so now you've got quick presets of you want it every day at 9 a.m. You want it to run every hour. You just click one of those little buttons and then it'll show you the full cron down at the bottom. If you know how to make it advanced, so yeah, click on one of those and then we change the drop downs. So then you can specifically set the time. You can change it from every day to every hour in that drop down, and depending on what preset you select, it will change what those drop downs are.
Oh, nice.
The advanced then gives you a cron editor. That was what I started with, and I realized if I give music people a cron editor, they're not going to ever touch this or know how to modify the day of week. So I thought this would make it much, and I made that little drag down so that way you can see more.
Yeah.
When you pause it, it actually deletes the cron from scheduled or from trigger.dev. That way we preserve as much as we can of our 1,000 cap. And I've also synced them so that nobody that has if you've disabled a task, it is disabled now. So nobody's going to have that issue. The only thing that is an edge case on tasks is you had told me to watch out for infinitely creating tasks. I had forgot that we renamed scheduled actions to jobs to tasks. And so there was a day or two where there potentially you've already taken care of it.
Yeah. Yeah. There was one person or potentially two people that it happened to where it was redoing it, or they had 7 of the same things. Although I don't think that it was triggered from your thing because it would have been a lot more than 7. So I think, yeah, we got it before any crazy looped creation.
Excellent. Other than that, I've been wanting to get my thumbnail generator working, and I realized a blocker for it was something you've told me for over a month, which was these ATOB errors for image generation in Arweave. And so we've replaced Arweave Turbo SDK with the actual Arweave package. Can you try generating an image not in Nano Banana mode? And so image generation should be working now. And that is everything that I delivered. I fixed the recent chats. I fixed image generation, fixed text file generation, anything that was using.
Ooh.
Billing hard limit has been reached. Interesting. And what that's likely through OpenAI.
Oh, really?
We're using OpenAI. That's the only reason we would. Interesting. Let me see if I can pull it up on my site, OpenAI, and see if it says anything about that. First time I've ever seen billing with OpenAI that's not like you ran out of credits. Maybe because the scheduled actions are running and people are doing a lot of image generation. The tasks. Where's my phone? I've got a one-time password somewhere and I don't want to get up. Okay, so we'll look at that to see where what's going on with billing. But that is everything for what I did over the weekend. You want to talk about what we're working on this week, or anything else you want to? Where do you want to take the combo next?
No, yeah, let's talk about next week.
Right now, from our Friday call, we had said we wanted to do week over week social media reporting. I've started working on that today, and the two questions that I had, the first one was around where we want these files to be. So far, you've been building the algorithm around a proprietary file management system that I've never touched. A different dev built it who's not here anymore. You want the ability to share docs and these other features that we haven't built. There's a whole bunch of stuff that we have to maintain. Life is chiefly maintenance. I prefer to not host anything ourselves when we don't have to. That way we can leverage other teams that are building these. There's a company called Google. You might have heard of it. They have files. They have sharing capabilities. They have APIs to edit, read, and others. So, and the teams we want to work with are already using those. When you sent me the example files for the task we want to work on this week, they're already using Google files. And so my first question to you is why are we building the week over week social media sharing in our own proprietary files when they are already using Google Sheets? Google Sheets already has sharing capabilities to share these files. Google Sheets already has read and write APIs for us to build our agents on top of those. Why build week over week social media tracking inside of a proprietary file where it's not shared? It has the potential to break. We have to maintain it, as opposed to Google Sheets, robust, already has all these features, less that we need to maintain.
Okay, so I'll give you two scenarios. Well, actually, no, before I give you two scenarios. I don't disagree with you where I understand where you're coming from of why not just connect Google to why not do a connection? I understand that. The reason, or again, there's some questions that I would have around how the users are, like, where the users are storing their current spreadsheets and where we want to. So actually, let me refresh this by giving you a specific case instance of like my my reasoning as to why I opted for files internally rather than Google editing Google Sheets. One is if we have a user that connects to their Google Drive, and we're editing their Google Drive, we could potentially, the agent could potentially edit the wrong thing, edit something else, incorrectly do some stuff. And if it's attached to their Google Drive, which we don't know is where it's shared, those documents are shared to other people or whatever, there's a risk in, like, while we're building out the agent, it does something that it's not supposed to, deletes a file, adds numbers that it's not supposed to, etc. And so was one of the reasons for containment internally. The other was both of their sheets, the two users that we're using, had different variations of their Google Drive or of their sheets, right? Like, for example, one person had just the artist that they would select on their spreadsheet. The other person had, like, multiple artists that they would select, and other accounts, like, all in one sheet. And so, like, there isn't a dedicated, like, way in which we organize and keep track, or they keep track of it across the label. And so my thinking was, if we can internalize it and create some kind of standardization around how we're tracking and the columns, et cetera, of the weekly reports, then it will be easier to scale across other users and other labels who may have documents in different places and categorized differently, and may not have Google. They may have Microsoft Teams, and they may have something else. So that's where I was coming from. Although I'm not opposed to trying it the Google way. I think just having that connection would add value to the product in general. But yeah, I guess that was my thought process, was containment.
I think sandbox and standardization are your two reasons for building it as is. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes.
Standardization of the file and sandbox for agent doing destructive actions.
Correct.
Those make sense. Those make sense. I do still think the principle of less that we need to maintain allows us to move faster as a business is also a valid point to consider. The other thing I want to ask you about is specifically Twitter. How are you getting Twitter to work with your browser tools? Have you gotten it to work with the browser tool, or does that always fail?
It was working.
Can you share screen and show me it getting the social data? Because it might just be me doing it wrong.
Can you see?
I see.
This is something I couldn't figure out, is had to show it a screenshot before the response ended. It shows the screenshot once
I
it's
thought you were doing
done.
it before. Were you?
It shows it after it's done. Right.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
interesting. This is a new bug.
Yeah, that's what I was seeing. I spent a lot of the past couple hours
Trying to get
testing
it to.
our X APIs, and our X APIs are failing. They're not returning back anything. I tried to find the original package we were using, and it seems like it was delisted. I looked around at Apify scrapers, and so far I have not found one to return follower count. There's one that says it returns follower count, and I spent probably a half an hour trying to figure out how to get that data, and I haven't figured out how to get the data. I tried another API and it returned errors, and I'm wondering if Elon's really locked down X and has made it harder to access the page programmatically, including VR browser tools. And if that's the case, maybe I just ignore Twitter. Maybe I focused on the wrong one, and maybe I keep moving and ignore Twitter for now and focus on the others that aren't run by Elon.
Well, did you get browser? Did it work for other ones?
I have only tested Twitter so far because I thought that one was going to be the easiest. And I probably spent a couple hours just trying to get Twitter, and that was when I started to send you like the messages I had sent you of like, I'm not making progress. I'm feeling doubtful about this.
Yeah, I wonder if it's just an issue with the browser tools, or if it's literally Twitter.
Yeah, that's a great question.
No, see, so it's probably an issue with the browser observe tool that something's going on.
Very interesting. When was the last time you've seen a successful response from the browser tool on a query like this?
I'm not sure. All right, here we go. I don't know when this was though. Probably like a week or two.
Have we? Well, it seems like browser was replying. I was wondering, is the API key out of date? When we cycled API keys, was browser impacted? But I don't think I have access, so I wouldn't have cycled this key. Do you have a hypothesis on why it might not be working? You've been the one that mostly built it. Today was kind of my first time trying it.
I do not have a hypothesis. So what I think we should do is, do you think we should, in your opinion, should we go down the path of connecting the Google Composio client, or just like connecting Google and giving users the ability to connect their Google so that we can get the data? Or is that, or what do you think that, like, regardless of browser observe, what do you think the best next steps are to build this?
Where the files, for this specific case, I do think Google Sheets makes sense. It's two birds, one stone. It allows us to do this. And then if any other Google Sheets want to get managed, we've already built it. I think before that, getting the data is the very next step. And so the question is, how do we pull the data? Pulling the data is the very next step. I need to build a task that gets the follower counts across platforms. And so the question is, do we look at browser base, or I'm leaning more towards specific tools for each one. Instagram Scraper has done us well over the months, probably close to a year. It's been robust and it works. Browser base, it's cool in theory. It's a general tool. I am leaning towards a more specific tool for each platform. So we already know that I believe TikTok has an Apify scraper. Twitter, I don't know. Twitter's the big question mark. YouTube, we already have a YouTube integration directly.
The question is, well, like YouTube is like, if they're not logged into YouTube and the user can't log into the artist's YouTube for whatever reason, they don't have access to the artist's YouTube. That's the key to this whole thing is what if user doesn't have access to logins?
Well, we can check out if Apify has that, because
that's true. So then why don't we start there with this? Why don't we start with Google and pull social data from Apify or whatever we can.
Yeah, leaning towards Apify. So I'll try to find Apify scrapers, and so that'll look like making new API endpoints for Get TikTok followers, Get YouTube channel subscribers, etc. Making those Apifys into our backend API, and then once we can consistently get back the active followers, okay, now let's plug it in. It gives us a little bit more time for you and I to think, do we really want Google Sheets, build it right into where they're already doing it, or do we want to standardize and build it into our own file system? So today I'll focus on trying to get API endpoints in place for each of those social platforms and building out the task in trigger.dev to you pass in for the task, you pass in an account and an artist, it returns back the followers that are connected for all the socials connected to that artist.
Okay. Because my question, and I got to jump because I have another call in a second, but so of the two real use cases of this, one of them can access all of those with a login, meaning like one of them can log in to TikTok, to Twitter, to all of that. So if there is a Composio Twitter client, there's a Composio TikTok client, like it would make sense for that specific user to just log into the account with that, with their account. The other user only has that ability for a couple of the reports that she generates per week. So she can log into a couple of those, but then some of the artists she doesn't have access to logins.
Right.
Meaning that she would need the API stuff. Right.
Yeah.
So those are the two use cases. So yeah, all right, let's do that. We'll take it from there. Like just start with that info, and then I'll look into the browser observe stuff today as well to fix that bug. Yeah, and we'll start there.
Thank you all for tuning in.